Welcome back to Conversations. I'm Robin Farr, and as promised, Richard Wexler is with me now. Richard is the founder of A Golden Hand, which is a wonderful organization designed to help those of us who will be dealing with aging parents to deal with it and to know what to do before the trouble begins. Welcome back to Conversations. Great to see you again.
Thank you. Great to be back. Appreciate it.
Did I get that description fairly well right? That, well, maybe a better description for you from what A Golden Hand is all about.
That's correct. We are an elder planning company, so we help the whole family plan for what unfortunately is coming with an older loved one, whether we're working with the adult children or working with the older loved one themselves.
And you gave me a very startling statistic that only 1% of people who make it, to age 70 actually don't continue on. So the 99% chance that you are going to be dealing with an illness or the problems of an aging parent.
That's correct. And that, unfortunate, but 99% of us at some point will go through a horrific fall, a long-term illness that will require care. Mm-hmm. And that care can be a huge chore, burden for someone else if they're not prepared.
Right.
For instance, there's 78 million baby boomers that I'm part of in this country, and the startling statistic that 40 million, half approximately, have never spoken with mom and dad about the future. So they have no idea what mom and dad truly want. And in reverse, mom and dad haven't spoken with those 40 million kids and haven't really told them what they want and what they need.
And of course, we know the reason why. It's nobody wants to talk about something that's, kind of unpleasant, and yet not doing so, it will be much more unpleasant.
Precisely, and we understand that. It's a very uncomfortable conversation. After Christmas dinner, after Thanksgiving dinner, to walk up to mom and have that kind of conversation is very difficult. So my wife and I unfortunately went through this ourselves 3 times over the last 5 years with her mom, her dad, and my dad, and we were one of those 40 million people. We were totally unprepared. We learned a huge lesson, which we took in starting A Golden Hand, and we're trying to help people not make the same mistake we made.
Mm-hmm. What does the typical Golden Hand family look like?
Typical family, working, probably in their late 40s, has mom and dad in their 70s. Hopefully mom and dad are perfectly healthy. They're still doing everything themselves in ordinary life, and they never had that conversation. And they don't understand that one simple fall by mom off the curb at Safeway will change mom's life and also change their life. Mm-hmm. And hopefully at some point they start to realize that we need to find out that information. And that's when they come to us and they start the process, and we prepare what we call our Elder Life Plan.
Okay. So, and this could be, it could be anybody, my age, anybody. We really all need to be looking into this if there is an elder person in our lives, or will be. And as we were talking off air before, it could be an aunt or uncle that you may be the caregiver for whatever reason. Friends of mine I was telling you about in Colorado, there's a stepfather that nobody was really that close to, is now alone and in his 90s. And they, maybe don't wish to be doing this, but guess what? It's their job to be taking care of him now. And let me use them as an example. They knew that this man would be alone, eventually, just based on the mother was ill and she was going to be dying soon. What could they have done? I mean, they would have come to you, for example, and to prepare them for now taking care of this older man who does not want to move into any sort of a home. He's quite belligerent about, and living on his own, which he really cannot do. What could they have done to avoid the problems that they're in now, it's just really heartbreaking?
We could have helped them avoid this whole problem. Our Elder Life Plan starts with a conversation with someone in the family. Let's say it's one of the children of mom. And from there, we find out what they know about mom, what they know about this individual, the father as well. We then bring in all the brothers and sisters, and we have the same conversation with the brothers and sisters. Then we have the same conversations with mom and with him. And we find out what all the wishes are. And we find out it's exactly what you've talked about. They don't want to go someplace else. They want to stay home. We find out what he has and has not done from an estate plan, financial plan, etc. The kids have a plan going in. They've now had this conversation with him and mom, and they're much more comfortable. So when something does happen to mom, they know who, when, how they can help this gentleman.
And they know, he knows too, which has got to be quite reassuring to have sort of a plan. It must feel to him, like to this older man, that he's in free fall right now because he's counting on the goodness of these people to take care of him, but he must feel really a burden and all sorts of other negative emotions.
I would totally agree. And companies like us, even though they've gotten to this stage, companies like us can even engage at this point to help a family out in that case and help have that conversation now, so he's not feeling alone. He's feeling much more connected to the kids, and the kids know exactly what he wants. And it helps the whole family dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Now, we first met probably about 18 months ago when A Golden Hand was still fairly new.
Correct.
Here it is, you've been in business, as it were, for 2 years now?
Almost 2 years,
Almost
yes.
2 years. What has changed? What have you learned in this time that might have been different from when we last spoke?
When we last spoke, we were focusing, I'd say about half and half, on planning and also helping people once an elder loved one had gotten ill. Probably the majority of our focus now, or even 75% of our focus, is planning. We're really trying to help families understand, whether you're the elder loved one or the kids, this has to take place, per the statistics that we talked about before, per the fact there are 78 million baby boomers. We came from 40 million parents. That's a third of this country. This is going to happen to all of us. Last year in this country, per the AARP, there were over 66 million private caregivers. That means you and me taking care of mom and dad, not a professional.